So welcome everyone. This is Krishna Kumar hosting this webinar on behalf of Definedge Solutions. And I just hope you had a wonderful Diwali and a nice trading week, a truncated one at that. So how did it go, guys? Actually, there was nothing, isn't it? Looking at it from an index perspective, nothing much happened in the 2 or 2.5 or 3 days of trading that we had. Individual stocks, I think there were a lot of opportunities, but other than that, I don't think index wise there was any significant opportunity, especially from an intraday perspective. So what was your experience? Did you guys find any opportunities to make money going long, short, or whatever? Any stock ideas that you guys have? Anything that looks interesting in cash, in F&O? Okay. So Gaurav says he took a holiday. That's always a nice thing to do. And Kushal says it was a wonderful week. That's also nice to hear. And made money in Maruti, says Dinkar. Excellent. And okay, so Kanaya says he trades only intraday. Yeah, so there's nothing right or wrong about it. So just choose the style that suits you and stick to it. Okay, made some loss in index. Was the loss because of or no, not I should not say because of was it was it a loss that occurred while following your trade plan, or was it because of something that you did which was not a part of your trading plan? If the loss was um, even after following the trade plan, then you just have to live with it. There's nothing wrong about it. But if you incurred a loss because of violating a rule or not following the rule book, then that is something that you should be worried about. Okay, deviating trade plan is a big mistake. So the best thing to do or deal with such scenarios is that give yourself a punishment, and the best punishment that you can give yourself for violating the rule is to stop yourself from trading for a day or two. So that is the best thing that you can do. So next time when you are about to deviate from your trade plan, this punishment should come right in front of you, and it should dissuade you from violating the rule, right? So that is the best punishment that a trader can ever get. Forcing yourself on taking a day or two off from trading. Okay, so let's have a look at the Nifty. That's interesting. 25 800 P has gone from 26.5 to 147, is it? Why would that happen? 6th November, okay. Oh, that was the expiry day that you're talking about. Yeah, but a lot of things happen on the weekly expiry. So if you're good at it, there is a lot of money to be made on weekly bank Nifty options. That's nice. Okay, so getting back to Nifty, let's look at our traditional box size, point 0.1, and let's make it percentage. So we are just what shall I say? We are stuck in the same column of X for almost a week now. So ideally, I would prefer to see some kind of a pullback and then a follow through buy signal, or even better, maybe a small sell signal and then a buy signal. This is an anchor column, right? We have an anchor column here, and if we get a sell signal and then if we get a buy signal, we can probably visualize a potential ABC pattern here, correct? And if it turns out to be a ABC pattern, then we can use this anchor column for target calculation purposes. Otherwise, in normal scheme of things, this column will not qualify for target calculation. But if we get into a situation where ABC pattern materializes, then this column will qualify for target calculation. So let us see. So compared to last week, there is no fresh inputs or anything to analyze as far as the Nifty chart is concerned. So only thing is the setup is still bullish, and price is above the moving average, and the last triggered pattern was a buy pattern, so the setup is bullish. And if we look at the breadth, so the breadth is still neutral, nothing to worry about as far as the breadth is concerned. And let's probably just look at the breadth from a slightly bigger perspective, in a bigger box size. So it is still accommodative, right? We are right at the middle. So we are still in the neutral territory. We are not stretched on either direction. So things are looking good and nothing to worry about based on the inputs that we have till date. Yeah, we are going to discuss about PF ranking, definitely. So these are the routine stuff that we do every week, isn't it? Get a quick look at the markets, and then we will discuss at length about it's going to be a multi-week series. What I realized was, uh, I think my guess is that most of you guys are struggling with the basics. So I wanted to spend some time discussing about the matrix, the scores, and other stuff. And I didn't want to rush it through because we have done these sessions on numerous occasions. And if still a lot of people are confused about the matrix, then obviously there is something wrong somewhere. Okay, Akhil says there is no audio. I wonder why. Okay, fine. Uh, this is Nifty intraday. Okay, let's not spend too much time here. Let's close everything and get back to the agenda for today. Right. So let us start off from the basics. Right. What is matrix, and why do we have this feature introduced in the software? And if you guys want to take a screenshot, you can do so. That's why I took time to prepare the PowerPoint presentation, so that you have some ready reckoner kind of material which you can quickly refer to if you have any doubt or confusion. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can do so. I think in the GoToMeeting software, you have the facility to take a screenshot. You just have to click on the button, and it saves the screenshot on your desktop or something like that. So you have that facility. So what is this matrix feature? So basically, you can look at the matrix feature as a numerical way of representing a point and figure chart. So the regular chart that you see in the TradePoint software is the graphical way of representing the price action, right? So the matrix is nothing but a numerical way of capturing the same point and figure chart. So if I tell you that the performance score is this, and the ranking score is this, then it becomes easy for me to visualize how the P&F chart will look. Similarly, if I look at the point and figure actual chart, I can easily find out what will be the scores in the performance matrix and the ranking matrix. So basically, there are two different types of matrix that we have. One is the performance matrix, and one is the ranking matrix. So the performance metrics, we will talk about the performance metrics. We will discuss about it at length, maybe today and maybe next week, and then the next couple of weeks thereafter, we will focus on the ranking metrics, and then we'll try to club everything together. So today, the focus of our discussion will be the performance metrics. So basically, to begin with, we have two different matrix scores. One is the performance matrix, one is the ranking matrix. Okay, and we can generate this performance and ranking matrix scores on the price chart as well as the relative strength chart. Is that clear? Are you guys with me until now? So I'm just repeating. There are two different types of matrix scores that we have. One is the performance matrix, and the other one is the ranking matrix. So both this performance and ranking matrix scores, we can generate it on the individual price chart of any instrument, right? If you look at the individual chart of, say, Nifty or any other stock or any other index, we can calculate both the performance score as well as the ranking score. We can also calculate the performance and ranking scores based on the relative strength chart, also the ratio chart, right? So the logic for both these charts are basically the same. The performance matrix scores and the ranking matrix scores, the logic is basically the same. Only difference being in the P and F matrix, we calculate it on the actual price chart, and in the RS matrix we calculate it on the relative strength chart. That is the only difference. Clear? So if you look at the software, if you click on the matrix, these are the two things that we are talking about: the P and F matrix and the RS matrix. So in P and F matrix, again, if you see, you have a performance score and you also have a ranking score, correct? And in the RS matrix also, you have a performance score and ranking score. So the logic for calculating the performance score in these two categories is the same. Similarly, the logic for calculating the ranking score is also the same. Just that in the point and figure or in the P and F matrix, we look at the individual stock. So suppose if I use, say, agriculture, I'm looking at the individual stock of individual chart of this stock or each instrument, and I'm using that individual chart to calculate these scores. Whereas in the ranking matrix, or the in the RS matrix, what we basically do is we look at the ratio chart. So we look at the ratio chart, and we are assigning the scores based on the ratio chart or the relative strength chart. Relative strength or ratio chart, both of them are basically the same. Ratio chart typically is used to refer to a line chart wherein you plot the ratio of two instruments, and relative strength chart, typically what we refer to is a point and figure chart. That's it. So if we plot the ratio chart in a point and figure format, then we can calculate the same performance score and the ranking score. The logic is the same. So what we will do is we will focus on how these scores are assigned. These performance scores are assigned. We will understand the logic. We will discuss about it today. And in the forthcoming weeks, we will talk about how the scores are assigned for the ranking matrix. Right? Is everything clear until now? If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to type in your questions. We have lots of time. We are just going to focus on this simple matrix stuff. So I just want to ensure that no one is left behind, or you don't go home with any sort of confusion. So as I told you, matrix is nothing but a numerical representation of the point and figure chart. So by looking at the a matrix table, I can visualize the corresponding chart, and if I look at the chart, I can easily visualize what the scores will be. So you must develop that kind of an expertise. So as I told you a little while ago, we have two types of matrix scores. One is the performance score, and the other one is the ranking score. So what we are trying to do here is there are certain unique characteristics which is associated with the point and figure chart, and we are just trying to use those characteristics to assign logical scores. Okay. So what is the logic for assigning the performance matrix score? So the best possible score is +2, or just a score of 2, and the worst possible score that can be assigned in a given box size is -2. So the scores will be ranked between -2, the lower extreme of -2 and the upper extreme of +2. The possible scoring options are, it can either be -2 or -1 or 0 or +1 or +2. These are the only five possibilities that's there. So depending upon the chart pattern and the signal that has been triggered, the score will be assigned ranging from either -2 or -1 or 0 or 1 or 2. So if you look at the table below, it gives you the logic for assigning those scores. Just take a look at the table and let me know if there is any confusion about the contents of the table, and we can take the discussion forward. uh, so I'm just giving you 30 odd seconds or a minute for you guys to go through the slide and look at the table, the matrix, or rather the scoring option there, right? So the best possible score of 2 is assigned when the last triggered signal is a buy signal and price is in a column of X. So everything is bullish. So we give the maximum possible score of 2. If the signal is a buy signal, but price is currently in a if the price is currently in a column of O, then the score is going to be +1. It's not as bullish as the best combination. In the best combination, you have best of everything. Buy signal has been triggered and price is in a column of X. Column of X indicates that price is moving up, right? In point and figure chart, a column of X represents that price is moving up. So you have the best possible combination. Price is moving up, which is why it is in a column of X, and the last triggered signal is a buy signal. So you have a situation where the maximum score of 2 is given. Then slightly lesser bullish combination is a buy signal has been triggered, but price is not in a column of X, but it is in a column of O. A column of O indicates falling prices, right? So we give a score of 1. So immediately, if you see a score of 1, what you must immediately visualize in your mind is that we have a buy signal and price is currently in a column of O. That should immediately occur to you. Similarly, the worst possible combination is a sell signal and price is in a column of O. And the slightly lesser bearish configuration is a sell signal has been triggered, but price is in a column of X. Okay, so someone says, can you show the second page? Is this the one you're talking about, Firoza? Or sorry, Shankar? Yes, Thiru sir, we are recording it, and I will upload the recording today itself, so that people who could not attend or who joined us late can go through the presentation over the weekend. Okay, fine. So is this table clear? Okay, the third possible combination where the score of 0 is assigned, as I told you, the scoring options are -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So I'm sure uh, -2, -1, 1, and 2. This is very clear, isn't it? There hopefully there should be no confusion with respect to these four combinations. The last combination that's possible is a triangle, wherein you have three consecutive columns which are inside columns. So price is basically in a consolidation, so there is no clear cut trend out there. So in such a scenario, we will give a score of 0. So these are the five possibilities for scoring options, the worst being -2, the best being +2, and -1, 0, and 1 being the other options. Clear? Any questions until now? Yeah, see, again, I'm telling you, performance matrix can be run on the price as well as the relative strength. So you just need a chart, and if you have a point and figure chart, you can easily calculate, or you can easily decide what is the score out of this five options. You can easily decide what should be the appropriate score for any point and figure chart. It can be the price chart, or it can be the relative strength chart. Uh, uh, we will get to that, Somen. I don't want to take that question now. So the question is to find the strongest or weakest sector in the RS matrix. Should we focus on the PF score? Logically, you must start off with the PF score. See, the PF and the ranking score must be viewed together. You cannot choose one over the other, right? So the performance score gives you the overall trend, and the ranking score gives you the momentum, so you can view it that way. So we will talk about all those things, how to integrate these two metrics, how to shortlist candidates. We will talk about all those things. We'll go in a step by step fashion, no problem about that. But at the moment, to answer your question, Somen, you must use performance and ranking matrix scores together. It's not that one is superior over the other or vice versa, right? Okay. So let's look at a few examples. Is the slide visible? Is it clear on your screens, guys? So what I'm trying to do, this slide, what I've done is column of X, buy signal, score of 2. This entire table, I've just tried to capture the, or give some examples here, so that it 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 it's easier for you to comprehend. So a score of +2, you have a double top buy here, isn't it? This column of X has gone above the high of the previous column of X. So we have a buy signal, and price is in a column of X. So basically what you do is you ask yourself, what is the last triggered signal? It's a buy signal. Are we in a column of X or O? We are in a column of X. So the score should be 2. Clear? So in this one, we had the last triggered signal was a buy signal, but price is in a column of O here. So buy signal, price is in a column of O, so the score is 1. Okay. And in this chart, you have a sell signal wherein this column of O has fallen below the low of the previous column of O. So we have a sell signal, and price is still in a column of O. So it is the worst possible bearish configuration. So the maximum score of -2 is given. And of course, the other possibility is you have a sell signal, but price is in a pullback now. It's in a column of X. So a score of -1 is given, right? Sell signal, price in a column of X will be a score of -1, and sell signal and price in column of O, the score is going to be -2. Any other pattern is going to be a score of 0. Clear? Any doubts, confusion, questions? Okay, should one initiate a buy on a score of 1, or should we wait for the score of 1 to become score of 2? We'll get to that. We'll get to that, surely. See, when you have a score of 2, it basically means that a buy signal has already been triggered and we are already in a column of X, right? So we don't have a fresh trigger or a fresh reason for us to buy anything there, isn't it? Maybe you can go to a slightly lower time frame, intraday time frame, and look for entry opportunities there. In the If you're looking at the daily chart to arrive at these scores, if you have a score of 2, it basically means that price has already triggered a buy signal and we are already in a column of X. So you must have probably uh, gone long when this buy signal got triggered. Or the other option is, you can probably, if you have a score of 2 in the daily chart, you can look at the intraday time frame, and if you get a fresh buy signal in the intraday time frame, you can consider going long there. Exactly. The score of +1 and -1 basically means we are in a kind of a pullback to the main trend. That's it. +1 means we are in a downward correction in an uptrend, and vice versa. If that helps you understand, you can visualize it that way. Definitely. What do you want me to repeat, Mr. Bodhi? Okay, so let's go to the current slide. Okay, I'm just repeating it. So I'm just giving you the logic for the scores that is given in the performance matrix. Score of +2 is given when price is in a column of X. The last column in the chart is a column of X, and we also have a buy signal. So two conditions are satisfied. So the best possible score of 2 is given. The worst possible score of -2 is given when a sell signal has been triggered and the last column in the chart that you're watching is a column of O. If these two conditions are satisfied, you get a score of -2. So in the score of 1 is given where a buy signal has been triggered, but the last column on the chart is a column of O, which basically means price is in a pullback, uh, and it's sort of in a corrective phase. Similarly, a score of -1 is given when you have a sell signal, but the last column on the chart is a column of X. That's it. Hope that's clear. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So if you look at the TradePoint software, if you I'll get back to the slide again. If you look at the P and F matrix, let's probably what we will do is, let's probably just run a P and F matrix slide. So here, if you notice, you have the option to choose 4 different box sizes, right? And you can also choose the reversal value. So you can calculate the P and F matrix on 4 different box sizes and any reversal value that you want to choose. So we typically settle for the default setting of 3 boxes, and the box sizes also we use the default box sizes. So what we are trying to capture here is, if you run this matrix scanner, it's going to give you the score on 4 different box sizes. The logic for giving the score is the same. What we discussed until now in the PowerPoint slides, that is the logic for assigning the scores. But we are assigning the scores on each and every box size. So in one go, we will get an idea about how the chart is looking or how the stock is performing across multiple time frames. So that is the idea, and that is the purpose, that is the logic behind having this matrix feature. Clear? Okay, let this run in the background. Let's get back to our slide. Right, so this basically summarizes what we have discussed until now. So you can just read through the material here. So shall I go to the next slide? How do you act on the scores? We'll get to that. So first let us understand the fundamentals. Um, what I'm going to say is valid for anything that you're learning. If you, whenever you are trying to learn something new, ensure that you spend a lot of time learning the basics. Ensure that your basics are absolutely clear beyond any doubt. Once the basics are clear, then building layers on the top of it is much more easier. If you have any gaps in understanding the basics, and if you work on some assumptions, then it's not going to help you at all, right? Okay, so what is the score? uh, if I give you a chart which looks like this, what will be the performance metric score here? So what are the questions you must be asking? What is the last column, whether we are in a column of X or O? The next question we must be asking is a buy signal triggered or a sell signal triggered, or is it a triangle? It's not a triangle, right? We don't have inside columns here. So we have a buy signal that has been triggered, and we are in a column of X. The score is going to be 2, isn't it? The score is going to be 2, correct? Why? Because last column is a column of X, and we also have a buy signal that's triggered. So if you have a buy signal and price is in a column of X, the best possible combination, a score of maximum score of 2 will be given. Suppose, let me just ask you another question. Give me a second. Let me grab the. Suppose, assume that we are somewhere over here. Assume that these two columns are not there on the chart, right? Just ignore the price action to the right of this line. Suppose if we have only this much of information, if this is the chart that I'm showing you, what is the score going to be? It's going to be 0, isn't it? Because we have a series of inside columns, no clear trend there. Correct? Is it clear how the scores are assigned? Okay, let me just clear everything, and let's go to the software has generated this table for us. So in 3M India, what the output is telling us is that in 0.25% box size, we have a score of 2. So what will the last column be in the chart? If I open 3M India chart in 0.25% box size, the last column is going to be a column of X, isn't it? And we should have a double top buy which has been triggered, correct? So let's just open the chart and see. So we have a buy signal that has been triggered, and price is in a column of X. So we have those two conditions. last column is a column of X, and a buy signal has been triggered. So the score is going to be 2. So which is what we saw in the table, isn't it? Okay, let's look at the 1% box size. So what is the score going to be in 1% box size? Can it be 0? Come on, everyone participate. That is the only way you can. The score cannot be 0, isn't it? We don't have inside columns, right? See, here the score could have been 0. If these two columns were not there, the score could have been 0. Here we clearly have a sell signal, and price is just in a pullback. We are in a column of X. So if you go to the slide, you have a sell signal, price is in a column of X, the score is going to be -1. It can't be 0. If anyone thinks it is going to be 0, you will have to explain why it is 0. It's not, it can't be 0, isn't it? Because we don't have a triangle kind of a pattern. Okay. What is it? Prashant's video said that for this core, only the last three columns are looked at. Yeah, we are just looking at the last three columns, right? So I'm looking at the last column. Last column is a column of X, and the last triggered signal was a sell signal. So it's going to be a score of -1. So let's look at the table. So you have a score of -1 in 1% box size. So in 3% box size, we have a score of 1. So what is the chart configuration going to be? How to type questions? Oh my God. There should be a chat window. If you look at it, there will be something called the chat window. Just click on the chat window, and you can. It's just like a normal Skype chat or a WhatsApp chat or whatever. The concept is basically the same. Okay, getting back to the question, in 3%, the score is 1. So what does that mean? When do we give a score of 1? A score of 1 happens when there is a buy signal, but price is in a column of O. Correct? So what is the configuration going to look like? If you open the chart in a 3% box size, the last column is going to be a column of O, and but the last triggered signal is going to be a buy signal. Correct? So let's see if our understanding is correct. So last triggered signal was a buy signal, and we are in a column of O. Let's not get into the ultimate metrics. Finally, when see, this is going to be a multi-week series, we will tie everything together. Don't worry. So at the fag end of the this multi-week series, we will take up the ultimate metrics. For at the moment, don't even think or worry about the ultimate metrics. So we will go in a logical sequential manner, so that there is little room for confusion. So go with the flow. So at the moment, your entire focus should be on the performance metrics. Don't think about anything else. We will talk about the ultimate metrics at a later date. Okay. Okay, let's look at some other example. So you have APL Apollo. This is an interesting case. If you look at it, the score is 0 across all box sizes. So what can you visualize? We should be seeing some kind of a contraction, isn't it? Some kind of a consolidation. A triangle pattern should be visible in the chart across box sizes. So can you see it now? Look at the last three columns. We have inside columns, right? This column is smaller than this one, and this column is smaller than this one. So you have a series of inside columns. So the score is 0. Let's look at the 1% box size. The same deal, isn't it? the last column is smaller than the previous column, and the previous column is contained within the column before that. So if you go to 3%, again we have the same deal. Last column is contained within the previous column, and the previous column is contained within the column prior to that. So when you have candidates like this, wherein you have a score of 0 across multiple box sizes, those are the candidates which are likely to give a very good trending move sooner or later. So you look at what is the trend, and you wait for these are the stocks that should be in your watch list, and sooner or later they are going to get into a trending phase, because it's been in a consolidation for such a long time, and it's been in a consolidation across box sizes. So it basically means that a good trending move is just around the corner. Okay, yeah, it basically means it's ready for a breakout. Correct. Can you take the example of Nifty or Bank Nifty? Surely the logic is going to be the same. So let me just open 0.1% Nifty chart, right? So what will be the score be for Nifty? What is the last column? It's a column of X, right? And what is a signal triggered? It's a buy signal. Buy signal and column of X is going to be a score of 2. Clear? So if we look at Bank Nifty, so you any what shall I say? Um, any boxes, it doesn't really matter. What is it called? Yeah, Nifty Bank, is it? So let's look at 0.25% boxes. It doesn't matter. The logic is basically the same. So what is the score going to be in this chart? Forget the box size, forget the instrument. Again the same deal, right? Price is in a column of X and a buy signal has been triggered. So the score is going to be +2. So everyone clear until now? No confusion, nothing? Yes, no? Okay. So here, if you notice, there is something called a setup here. Does anyone realize what is the importance of this feature that is plugged in here? I hope everyone knows what we mean by a setup, isn't it? We have a specific definition or a specific method for identifying setup. Does everyone know about it? No, the default value is 0.25. You can change it to whatever value you want. 1, 2, 3, whatever. The default value is 0.25, but you can change it to whatever value you want. Doesn't matter. Does everyone know what do we mean by setup? Okay, I'll quickly tell you what we mean by setup. The setup consists of let's again go to this screen here, and let me just insert a new slide. Okay, and so in point and figure setup consists of two parts. The first one is the trend, and the second one is going to be the pattern. Okay, so the trend can be bullish or bearish. Again, the pattern can be bearish or bullish, whatever, right? So how do we determine if the trend is bullish or bearish? The simple definition is, if the price is above the moving average, trend bullish. Okay, and if the price is below the moving average, trend is bearish. Okay, and pattern, if you have a double top buy, it's bullish, or if you have a low pole, it's bullish, and pattern will be bearish if there is a double bottom sell or high pole, right? So the setup will be bullish when trend and pattern is bullish. Setup will be bearish when trend and pattern is bearish. Any other combination, right? When the trend and the uh, pattern, if they are not in sync, if one is bullish and the other is bearish, or if one is bearish and the other one is bullish, then the setup turns neutral. Okay, is that clear? So the setup consists of two components. One is the trend, the other is the pattern, and the trend will be bullish if the price is above the moving average, and trend will be bearish if the price is below the moving average. And the pattern is nothing but what is the last triggered pattern. Is it a double top buy or a double bottom sell? That's it. What is the difference between, okay, yeah, currently the setup in the Nifty is bullish because price is above the moving average, and the last triggered signal is a buy signal. Okay, let me quickly ask you something. um, uh, let us consider a case where price is above the moving average. Okay, just visualize the chart, or let me just try to draw the chart for you. Mm, okay, let me just delete this one, and what do we do? Okay, right, let me give you a scenario. The price the price in the chart is above the moving average. Okay, the performance matrix score is 1. What will be the setup? Will it be bullish, bearish, neutral? Okay, so the question is, one of the questions that's raised is, it's so very subjective because the moving average period may vary from person to person. For all practical purposes, for our definition, we always, for the setup purposes, we use the default moving average length of 10 columns. We don't change that. So the moving average length for a setup purpose is always 10 column. So nice that you asked that question, so that there is no room for confusion there. So for everyone, the setup is going to be the same because we are looking at the same set of parameters. What is the difference between DTB and a low pole? Oh, okay. See, this is your low pole, wherein you have a big column of O, and then price in the immediate next column of X, it retraces by more than 50% of the previous column of O. So when you have that kind of a scenario, it is a low pole pattern. So it basically means that it's basically a bullish sign. The opposite is a high pole pattern, wherein you have a column of X, and in the immediately next column of O, the price retraces by more than 50% of the previous column of X. So this has bearish connotations. So this is not a sell signal per se, but it is just a bearish pattern. That's it. Low pole is a bullish pattern, high pole is a bearish pattern. A double top buy is when a column of X exceeds the high of the previous column of X. So this is where a double top buy or a basic buy pattern happens. When this column of X gets printed, you have extra column of X that is printed above the high of the previous column of X. So you have a basic buy signal, which is called as a double top buy. And similarly, double bottom sell is nothing but when one box of O is printed, which is lower than the low of the previous column of O, you have a basic double bottom sell. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so getting back to the question, if you have really understood the concept, you must not be struggling to answer this one. So my question was, if the price is above the moving average and the performance matrix score is 1, what will the setup be? How many of you think it will be neutral? If you think it is neutral, or if you have already mentioned that it is neutral, you will have to tell me why it is neutral. See, what I told you was, the setup consists of two parts, right? One is the trend and other is the pattern, correct? I have made it easier for you as far as the trend is concerned. I have clearly told you that price is above the moving average, so the trend is bullish for in our case, right? So if someone were to ask you what is the setup, you will have to basically ask yourself two questions. You will have to answer these two questions: what is the trend and what is the pattern, right? So what is the trend? This question I have already given you the answer. I have told you that price is above the moving average, so the trend is bullish, correct? There is no doubt there. The next question is, what is the pattern? If your answer was neutral, that means the pattern has to be bearish, correct? Is that right? A lot of you guys have answered that the setup is going to be neutral. If the setup if the setup has to be neutral, the pattern has to be bearish, correct? Does uh, does that make sense to you? Does it sound logical to you? Because what I told you was, if both the trend and the pattern is bullish, the setup is bullish. If both the trend and pattern is bearish, the setup is bearish. Any other combination, when the trend and the pattern are not in sync, wherein one is bullish and the other is not, so any other combination, the setup turns neutral. That being the case, if your answer was if the setup is neutral, that basically means you are inferring that the pattern is bearish, isn't it? But what the pattern is not bearish here, isn't it? How do we get a score of 1? Price, the pattern was a buy signal. It is just that we are in a pullback. So this is when you get a score of +1, isn't it? So the setup is your the correct answer is, the setup is bullish. It's not neutral. Got it? Just because we have a column of O, the last column is a column of O, it doesn't necessarily mean that the trend is sorry, the setup is neutral. Did you are you getting the logic here? The pattern is, it's not bearish. The pattern is not bearish, but it is bullish because the last triggered signal was still a buy signal, isn't it? Okay, so everyone clear about what the setup is? So if you are looking for a buy signal, if you're looking for a long opportunity from the universe that you're looking at, you basically want the setup to be bullish in higher time frames, right? Or in any time frame that you're looking at. Okay. So the question is, if the pattern is neutral and the trend is bullish, the setup is going to be neutral again. See, if both are not in sync, pattern and trend, if they are not bullish or bearish, any other combination, it is going to be neutral. That's it. Okay. So if you're looking for long opportunities, ideally you would want the setup to be bullish, isn't it? And if you're looking for shorting opportunities, you want the setup to be bearish. Correct? Makes sense? Okay. So in the software, we have the facility to calculate the setup as well. So this output, if you look at it at the right extreme, you have the setup which is wherein you see neutral, bearish, bullish, all those things. So this bullish, bearish, or neutral is based on this box size, 0.25%. So you can change it if you want. You can probably choose 1% or anything that you want. Say for example, I'm just giving you a broad idea. Maybe you can run the scanner, or sorry, you can use 1% as your setup box size and run the scan. So what it does is the setup in 1% is captured here. So if you're looking for long opportunities, you can focus on the candidates wherein the setup is bullish in 1% box size. 1% box size is slightly higher degree time frame, correct? So what we are trying to do is we are looking for a bullish setup in 1% box size, and we can focus on candidates which are in a pullback or wherein the score is 1 or 0 in 0.25% box size. So basically what we have is something which is bullish in the higher time frame, and we are looking at a pullback in the lower time frame. So if we get a fresh buy signal in 0.25%, those are the ideal candidates to be focusing on. Yes, the setup always takes into account the moving average information. As I told you, setup consists of these two components, right? Setup has two parts. One of them is the trend, the other one is going to be the pattern. So whenever the software talks about the setup is always based on a given box size. So in 1% box size, the setup is bearish for 3M India. So if you open the chart and go to a 1% box size, price is below the moving average. The last triggered signal was a sell signal. So pattern is bearish, trend is bearish, so the setup is bearish. So whenever we are talking about a setup, it takes into account the position of the price in relation to the moving average, as well as the pattern that was last triggered. So based on that, it gives you the setup. So what I can do is I can just export this to Excel. So let's just name it as um, Nifty 500 PF matrix November 8. Okay, so let's just take it to Excel. So what we can do here is we can just focus on, I want the setup to be bullish, right? I'm looking for long trades, so I want the setup to be bullish. So what I've done is I've basically filtered all those candidates where the setup is bullish, and in 0.25% box size, what I want to see is, I don't want to see a score of 2, isn't it? If the score is 2, it basically means that the price is in a column of X, and it is already in a buy signal, right? So we don't have fresh entry opportunities there, isn't it? Correct? Makes sense. We are not interested in a score of 2 in 0.25% box size, isn't it? Everyone clear about that? So I'm not interested in a score of 2, and I'm not interested in a score of -2 or -1. Can you tell me why? I'll be interested only in scores of 0 or 1. Score of -1 means we are in a sell signal, and price is in a column of X, correct? So why would I be interested in a candidate which is in a sell signal in the lower time frame, and it's just in a pullback mode? And if the score is -2, it basically means that we are in a column of O, and a sell signal has been triggered. So I'm definitely not interested in those candidates as well. So what I'm interested in is a score of 1, which basically means a buy signal has been triggered, and we are in a column of O. Again, get back to this table. A score of 1 means a buy signal and a column of O, and a score of 0 means we are in some kind of a consolidation, which again is not a bad outcome, isn't it? So if we have a breakout, we have an entry opportunity or a trade opportunity there. So if you notice, we basically have 58 stocks that we have shortlisted, wherein the condition that we have chosen is the setup should be bullish. The box size that we have chosen for the setup is 1%, right? So it is slightly a higher time frame box size. And what we have done is we are looking at a score of 0 or 1 in 0.25% box size. We can also employ one other filter. Even in 1%, what we can do is we can focus on, either we can focus on score of 2, or we can focus on score of 1 and 2. It doesn't really matter. So we still have 57 stocks to deal with. You can probably once you have these candidates, you can open the individual chart and find out which are the ones which are most likely to trigger a buy signal immediately, right? And you can also use other filters like fundamentals, or you can also probably look at the sector that they belong to, and ignore the ones wherein the sectors are not that very popular, or the sectors that are not fancied. Um, Mr. Funny Krishna, I'm unable to understand your question. What is the recommended box size? No, no. See, 0.25% is the box size that we are talking about, right? So, in the 0.25% box size, you look for the software will automatically tell you where the at which level the buy signal will be triggered, and you can go ahead and the next day, if the buy signal gets triggered, you can go ahead and place the trade. See, these are the data based on yesterday's close. So we can probably take some examples here. Say for instance, Divi's Lab, it has the best possible score in 1%, 2%, and 3% box sizes. Correct? The best possible score of 2, and in the 0.25% box size, we have a score of 0, which basically means we have a triangle pattern in 0.25% box size. Let's take a look at the Divi's Lab chart. So if you look at it, we have inside columns, which is why the score of 0 is given, And if you look at it in a 1% box size, we are in a column of X and a buy signal has been triggered. It's a anchor column also. So in 3%, the same deal, a big breakout, and we are in a column of X. So in 0.25%, we are in a kind of a consolidation, and price is ready to break out. So if you place the cursor on this column of X, or rather, if you place the cursor on this column of O, pay attention to the entries on the right hand side. You have something called the DBS value, HP value, DTB, and all those stuff, right? So DTB value is nothing but the double top buy value. It is the price at which the buy signal will be triggered. So if I place my cursor here, it will tell me where the buy signal will be triggered. So if the price moves above 1507.72, so roughly say 1508. So if we get a breakout above 1508, a buy signal will be triggered, and my stop loss is going to be. So I place my cursor on the next column. Now you will have to look at the DBS value, which is nothing but the double bottom sell value. So double bottom sell happens at 1463.2. So roughly make it 1460, and your buy signal comes at 1510. So roughly you are taking a risk of 50 odd points. So your buy signal triggers at 1510. Your stop loss is at 1460, and of course, there is also this count possibility 1820, and these are the upside targets, likely upside targets. Let me rephrase it. So this is an ideal candidate, isn't it? You have a nice little consolidation breakout, and and there is a fresh buy signal opportunity. So your buy triggers at 1510, stop loss at 1460, and your targets are 1810 and 2193. Yeah, the DTB DBS is on closing basis, because here, if you notice, we are using the close only price. So technically, the buy signal will be triggered only when the price closes above the double top trigger level. But obviously, we cannot wait until 315 to ensure that price closes above that level, isn't it? So for entry, what we do is, on intraday basis, if we get the trigger, we go ahead and take the trade, and we take a look at the trade at 315. We review it, and if the trigger doesn't happen on a closing basis, we can scratch the trade and get out. So this is how you go. This is one of the ways you can use this table. Okay, let me just ask you one question. Okay, see, um, let's just ignore this one. Give me a second. I have one. Okay, let's just clear everything. Let's do it again. I'm looking at the bullish setup, and in 1% box size, we have. See, I'm. What does the score of -1 mean? See, the setup is based on 1% box size, right? So the setup is termed as bullish in 1% box size. The software tells you that the setup is bullish. But a score of -1, what does it mean? A performance score of -1. Price is in a column of X, but the last triggered signal is a sell signal, correct? No, no, no. We are talking about the performance score here. See, setup. If I ask the question, what is the setup? The answer is going to be either bullish, bearish, or neutral. When we are talking about numbers, when we are talking about the performance score, we are talking about what is the pattern and what is the uh, whether the price is in a column of X or O. So if the score is -1, it basically means a sell signal has been triggered and we are in a column of X. So my question here is, the setup is bullish. The software tells you that the setup is bullish, whereas if you look at the what is it, the performance score, you have -1. A score of -1 basically means a sell signal, right? How is this possible? Is there anything wrong in this software? Do you see the disconnect here? Are you understanding the importance of the question that I'm asking you? The setup is bullish, but the pattern is seemingly bearish. How is it possible? If the pattern is bearish, how can the setup be bullish? No, it can't be potential DTB, right? We cannot be talking about potential DTB here. See, when I told you about when we talked about the setup, I told you that setup consists of trend and pattern, right? The pattern obviously is bearish, isn't it? When we have a score of -1, when you have a score of -1, price is in a column of X, but the last triggered signal was a sell signal, isn't it? So, if the pattern is bearish, when you have a score of -1, when the pattern is bearish, how can the setup be bullish? Is there something wrong with the software, or are we missing something? No, price, if the price is above the moving average and if the pattern is bearish, the setup should be neutral, isn't it? My question is, the software is telling you that the setup is bullish, but the score of -1 indicates we are in a sell signal, right? The pattern is bearish, which means the pattern is bearish. So is this wrong or is this wrong? Either of these two things should be wrong, isn't it? Either the score of -1 is wrongly given or the setup is wrongly given. Absolutely right, Sandeep. We talked about it last week. My guess is that a lot of people haven't got the connect there. Are you understanding the question that I'm asking you? If you don't understand the logic of the question, then I would consider today's session as being wasted. See, I'm just repeating the question again, trying to explain it. A score of -1 basically will be given when a sell signal has been triggered, right? And price is in a column of X. If a sell signal has been triggered, the pattern, let's go back to the slide again. When a sell signal has been triggered, when a sell signal has been triggered, the pattern will be bearish, isn't it? The only other possibility is low pole. So this is a possibility, right? If we have a low pole pattern is a bullish pattern, isn't it? So all these cases wherein you have a score of -1, these are the candidates where a low pole pattern has been triggered. So let's take a look at maybe say Hindustan Unilever. We'll just wrap up the session after taking a look at this chart. So in the 1% box size, the trend is bullish, right? Price is above the moving average, so the trend is bullish. To calculate the setup, the two questions that we have to ask is, what is the trend? Trend will be bullish if the price is above the moving average. So in this case, price is above the moving average, there is no doubt there, isn't it? The price is above the black line, so the trend is definitely bullish. The pattern is also bullish because we have a low pole here. This column of X has retraced by more than 50% of the previous column of O. So we have a low pole pattern, which is a bullish pattern, and price is above the moving average, which is why the setup is bullish. Yeah, you have to you have to watch the videos multiple times. You have to understand the distinction between the setup and the matrix scores. If the setup and the performance score, if it is confusing you, ignore the setup for the moment. Let's just focus on the performance score. If you can clearly understand the logic for assigning these scores, and if you can visualize the chart, and by looking at the chart, if you can easily uh, find out what the scores will be, then that is good enough. I just wanted to uh, ask a trick question, which is why I chose this example, wherein the setup is bullish and we have a score of -1. Okay, so what you can do is, once today's price data is updated, you go click on matrix, go to P and F matrix, and just run choose NSE, and whatever universe that you want, maybe Nifty 500 or whatever, and run the scan. Okay, and you will see this output that appears on your screen like this. What you do is randomly choose a stock, right? Say for instance Aarti Industries. You have a score of 2. Then ask yourself, how will the chart look like? What will be the last column if the score is 2? Jot it down in a piece of paper, and then just double click on Aarti Industries, and the chart will open, and you can immediately cross check what you jotted down on the paper is what you see on the screen, right? And or the other thing that you can also do is open any stock randomly. Say Hindustan Unilever, let's open the chart, and look at the pattern, and look at the last column of last column of the chart, and try to find out what is the logical score that should be assigned. So in this case, the score is going to be, the last column is a column of X, and a buy signal has been triggered, so the score is going to be 2, isn't it? So what you can do is, you can go to Hindustan Unilever. It's sorted on alphabetical order. So Hindustan Unilever score in 0.25% box sizes +2. In 1% box size, the score is -1. So what will be the? Can you visualize the chart now? If it is -1, a sell signal and price is in a column of X. So if you go to 1%, we have a sell signal and price is in a column of X. Where can I get this software? You can go to definedge.com, and you can download the trial version, and you can use it. So the software is called TradePoint, and you can download it from definedge.com. Okay. No, we are not getting into ranking score. What we have discussed until now is the performance score, everything to the left of this column. So let us master this one clearly. Let's let there be no confusion about why is the score -1, or if I show you the chart, you must immediately tell me what the score is likely to be. So once we are clear about the performance score, then we will talk about the ranking score, then we will talk about integrating these two. Okay. So today the entire focus has been on trying to understand this segment of the table, which is the performance score. Okay, so the question is, in the example we have used 1% for calculating the setup. So how much weightage should one give to the performance score of 2 and 3%? It is always better to take a look at the performance score in the slightly higher time frames as well, but it depends on the time frame that you are looking at as a trader. If you're someone who is looking to swing trade, maybe wherein you're going to hold down to your position for maybe say 2 to 5 days or maybe a week or so, then probably you can just focus on 1% and 0.25%. That is good enough for you. But if you're someone who wants to hold on to your position for several weeks or months, then obviously you must be worried about the higher time frame scores also. But if you're an extreme short term trader or intraday trader or a 1 to 5 day kind of a trader, then if you focus on 0.25 and 1%, that is good enough. The moving average length is always going to be 10 columns. For setup purposes, it is always going to be 10 columns. There is no change there. Okay, guys, I think we'll just wrap it up here. 10 columns, what does it mean? Okay, so generally, in a price chart, in a candlestick chart or whatever, right? If I say open the Nifty chart, if I plot a moving average, where is moving average? Okay, moving average envelope. Okay, so say the green line is your moving average, right? So what we do is, if it is a 20 column moving average, if it is a 20 period moving average in a daily chart, it will calculate the total of the last 20 days divided by 20, and it will plot the moving average, right? But in point and figure chart, there is no question of time. The x-axis does not measure time, right? This single column of O will capture the price action of several days. It need not necessarily be a price action of a single day. So the traditional way of looking at moving averages is not relevant in a point and figure chart, because we are not dealing with time here. So what we do instead is, we take a look at the last 10 columns. This is a 10 column moving average. So what we do is, we look at the prices of the last 10 columns, add them up and divide it by 10, and we get this line. So that's it. Okay, so that's it, guys. We'll just wrap it up here. We'll continue the discussion next week. And thanks for showing up. And I just hope you had a worthwhile session. Thanks, guys.